All right, we're going to dive into something pretty wild today, this hidden link between what we hear and what we see. But before we get into the why, I actually need you to help me out with a quick little experiment.
Okay, so in a second, you're going to see two shapes. And I've got two nonsense words for you, Bouba and Kiki. All you have to do is decide which name fits which shape. Super simple. You ready? Okay, here you go. You've got this kind of round, blobby shape, and then this really sharp, spiky one. So, which one feels like Bouba and which one feels like Kiki? Don't overthink it, just go with your gut. Take a sec.
Yeah, I'm guessing you probably made up your mind almost instantly, right? It's not really something you have to puzzle over. You just know. It's this immediate feeling. So let me guess. You said the round one was Bouba and the spiky one was Kiki.
Well, if that's what you picked, you're not alone. Not by a long shot. Get this, somewhere between 95 and 98% of people make the exact same choice. That is an insane level of agreement. I mean, for two made-up words and two random shapes, you'd think it would be a 50-50 split. But it's not arbitrary at all. And we're about to find out why.
So, what you just took part in is a really cool psychological phenomenon. It's called the Bouba/Kiki Effect. Let's dig into what it is and how we even found out about it.
And that word right there, non-arbitrary, is the whole ballgame. See, for the longest time, linguists thought that words were basically random labels. Like the word tree doesn't look or sound like a tree, right? It's just a sound we all agreed on. But the Bouba/Kiki effect completely flips that on its head. It suggests our brains are actually pre-wired to connect certain sounds with certain shapes.
And believe it or not, this idea has been floating around for a while. It actually started way back in 1924. A few years later, in 1929, Wolfgang Kohler did something similar, asking people to match takete to a spiky shape and maluma to a round one. But the guy who made it famous was the neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran. Back in 2001, he's the one who came up with Bouba and Kiki and found that crazy 95 to 98% consistency.
Okay, so it works on English speakers. But is this just an English thing or a quirk of Western cultures? That was the big question for researchers. Just how universal is this? Is it baked into our brains as humans? Well, a huge study in 2022 looked at over 900 people who spoke 25 different languages, and they found that, on average, people agreed about 80% of the time. Now think about it. If it were just random guessing, you'd expect a 50-50 split. 80% is way, way above chance. It proves this thing is seriously robust all across the globe.
And when you look at who experiences it, it gets even crazier. It works for American college kids, sure, but it also works for Tamil speakers in India. It even works for people who speak languages that don't have a writing system at all. But here's the kicker. They've tested it on toddlers as young as 2.5, and they get it. They've even detected it in infants just 4 months old. That suggests this isn't something we learn from language. It's an instinct that's there before we even start talking.
Now, it's not a perfect 100% rule. There are some interesting exceptions. For instance, the effect is way weaker for people who have been blind since birth and are feeling the shapes with their hands. And it turns out that in certain languages, like Mandarin, Turkish, and Romanian, the connection just isn't as strong. So what that tells us is that while this seems to be a deep human tendency, our specific language and experiences can still shape it.
So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? Why? What is happening inside our heads that makes nearly all of us look at a spiky thing and think, yep, that's a Kiki? Right now, there are a couple of big ideas. The first one is all about the shape of your mouth. Try it. When you say Bouba, your lips get all round, just like the round shape. But when you say Kiki, your mouth pulls back and gets tight and angular, kind of like the pointy shape. The other main theory is about actual sound physics. The idea is that if a round object bounced, it would make a low-frequency sound, more like Bouba, while a spiky one would make a higher-frequency, sharper sound. And we've got some cool clues from neuroscience, too. Using fMRI scans, scientists can see what our brains are doing. And when they show someone a mismatch, let's say they pair the word Bouba with the spiky shape, the sensory parts of the brain go into overdrive. It's almost like the brain throws up a little red flag saying, whoa, wait a minute, that doesn't compute. It has to work harder because the sound and the shape just don't feel right together.
So, okay, this is more than just a neat psychological trick, right? The Bouba/Kiki effect actually has some huge implications for how we think about where language itself comes from. There's a linguist, Alexandra Chweek, who put it perfectly. She said, somehow we all have a feeling about this. And that's it, right? that shared gut feeling. It points to something really fundamental about how we make meaning out of the world.
And this is really the key takeaway from all of this. For so long, the standard view was that language is arbitrary. The sound of the word chair has nothing to do with an actual chair. But Bouba and Kiki tell us, well, that's not entirely true. It seems that some words, at a very basic level, might actually have a kind of built-in meaning that our brains instinctively understand.
And this kind of sound symbolism is one of those things where, once you start looking for it, you see it everywhere. Think about the word, huh? It's basically universal. Or how we associate a trilled R sound with things that are rough and a smooth L sound with things that are, well, smooth. It even applies to names. Studies show people tend to match the name Molly with a round shape and Kate with a spiky one. Wild, right? Ultimately, the Bouba/Kiki effect is like this little peek behind the curtain of our minds. It shows us there's this hidden set of rules, this secret architecture that's shaping how we perceive the world and even how we talk about it. It really makes you wonder, if sounds can have shapes, what other hidden connections are out there, quietly guiding everything we think and do?